Live, and with none other than the very beloved Avi Lipkin, about to start our broadcast. Every TV tower and cable network and online platform that GLC has seen. And very excited about that. Very excited about Avi. And it's good to see you, see your face, my friend. Right now, we're streaming on so many different platforms, including the GLC Facebook page. And everyone should get behind Avi Lipkin and GLC, the last bastion of American freedom is West Texas. And of course, the media that you can trust is GLC. You know that by now. We're going to be giving you a connection point as well with Avi Lipkin. And Avi, we're heading that way, my man. We're about to start, and just seconds away. And here we go. You're watching live from Israel. As goes Israel, so goes the world, live in real time on all the TV platforms and cable platforms and online platforms where GLC is experienced. And what better experience than the man himself, longtime beloved friend, author, a world traveler and speaker, Sovietologist, educator. List goes on and on. Some would even say a prophet. It's none other than Avi Lipkin. How are you, sir?
I am not a prophet. I just listened to my wife. My wife is the intelligence gatherer, and people who hear me say, "Where did this guy get this information from?" I got it from my wife. Don't blame me for being a prophet.
Well, people are intrigued by what they see. They're intrigued by you, Avi, because they know that you carry the truth. They may not know you're a Sovietologist, that you see not only history repeat itself. It's been said history doesn't repeat itself. People just keep making the same stupid mistakes. But you being a Sovietologist as well, you know where things are headed if they don't change. And you see it right there in Israel. You see it in America, as do we. But we're coming to you, folks, at a time where the trust in the media and the trust in politicians is completely gone. And that's for good reason. But we are happy, though, that you're watching GLC, and we both come to you on our own volition. No one's paying us to do this. We're just speaking the truth without fear to you. Did keeping silent help you, folks? No, it didn't. It just empowered the enemy more, and we face a common enemy. We know that any cult of death is the enemy to humanity, and the current flavor of choice, the current poison of their pick is communism, masked as socialism, masked as benevolence. The list goes on and on. Avi and I were speaking earlier. Hey, quickest way to get millions of bucks is to attack Israel and take hostages. You'll get all the millions you need from Biden. And actually, no one believes for a minute that he is in control, much less the president. But here we are. And Avi, right there, not from the horse's mouth, but from Commander Avi's mouth, right there in Israel, live in real time. Tell us what's happening right there, right now.
Well, we are now on the cusp of a major policy decision. Are we going to renew fighting in Gaza, in the Rafah area, or are we going to sit on our hands as President Biden and Secretary of State Blinken are telling us to do, and put all our trust in those who are really interested in destroying Israel? Israel will be destroyed if we are not allowed to finish the job in Gaza. We know that there are numerous tunnels under the border going into Egypt from Gaza, and Israel needs to take Rafah and to discover the tunnels and to put the blame on Egypt. Egypt is to blame for a lot of this war. It turns out that in southern Lebanon, there are 10 times as many tunnels as there are in Gaza. These people have been preparing for this war for a long time. and that was all paid for by Iran, and Iran got its money from Biden. So,
And Biden got its money from you, folks,
correct.
with your tax dollars. PSA, be sure and pay your taxes. All those imported army thug fighting age men from third world countries depend on it. So does Ukraine. And, here we are. Here we are. Um, you know, this is a long game, where Israel is being told not to defend itself while well funded from the U.S. terrorist organizations through their countries and proxy wars continue to attack Israel. We're sitting under a president that's lecturing us about gun control when he left billions of dollars of guns to the Taliban. And here we are. It is disappointing to hear that Egypt has the stance they do. Of course, just as Israel has Soviet or communist socialist generals, we know that America does. People never paid attention to the estimated over almost 1,000 generals replaced with Muslim ones in America under Obama. Did you know that? So very interesting, very, very interesting. And the list goes on and on. The Obama's Muslim Brotherhood and the Arab Spring, which is nothing more than a staged coup by the Arab minority, the Muslim Brotherhood, along with Obama and Zuckerberg, a very powerful or well-funded three-letter agency asset. And people are not surprised. Here we are. People are looking for answers right now. And I sure hope, folks, that you vote this time, or that you vote smart this time. Forget mean tweets. We have a country to protect. But Netanyahu finds himself in quite the pickle. You've got Obama over here funding his enemies and then telling him not to retaliate when they are attacked. And then, of course, you have people on the inside there in Israel that are, kind of have a stranglehold on the Air Force who leans left, recruited left. They won't attack, certain targets they refuse to target for various reasons. My gosh, what can you do? What can be done right now?
Well, we have these 300 pilots who signed the letter that they would not volunteer in the future. And so this is very depressing for the Israeli government because we need the pilots. All these pilots that refuse to go into battle are people who are handpicked by socialists.
Right.
And so still the situation is that the socialists give the orders here in Israel, and the socialists are paid for lock, stock, and barrel by the U.S. government. And the U.S. government gets its money from Qatar. Qatar, by the way, is very courteous to all the university riots that are going on in the U.S. now.
All right, right.
So America is being taken over completely by Islamic money. And all these people are in bed together, and Netanyahu is very much alone. I would really ask all the viewers to pray for Netanyahu, because he's very much alone, having to contend not only with the Islamic terrorists, but with the socialist generals who do what they're told by the powers that be.
Well, here we are. We know how communist enters a country. I mean, communism, same youth, used media, the same tactics we've seen. Gosh, in Germany, Venezuela, Russia, the list goes on. China, of course, and here in America. I have a friend who was in broadcasting. Oh, well, they wouldn't allow communism to take over. There's too many veterans. Hey, when you import an army, you don't have to worry about veterans betraying their country. You've got your imported army. We've been dealing with Omar, Obama's puppet there, Minnesota. Most people didn't know that every single night, and I have an eyewitness, every single night, Obama imported in 1,200 Somalis during his reign of Islam/communism implementation. And that's what gave us Omar and her entire district. now. And so, where do you draw the line? Where do you stop this? It, I'm afraid, short of a revolution, what will it take to gain control of America and Israel and steer them away from this communist future?
Well, it's not just communist. I think you have to say globalist because the
Yeah.
globalism includes the Islamic agenda. The Islamic agenda is part of the world economic agenda. And one of the reasons why anti-Semitism is so tolerated in America today is because the rumor that the Jews have the money is totally wrong. The Muslims have the money. And the Muslims are 30 million in America, whereas the Jews are 6 million. They control the banks, they control the economics of the world. And, I have to tell you something. I was watching I was watching Channel 14, which is the right wing and conservative channel.
Mhm.
But they bring in speakers who are not right wing. To be fair, they bring in different viewpoints. And they brought in one of the former heads of the Mossad, and he was saying the situation in America is so bad today because 1% of the American population is Muslim, and I almost fell off my chair. So I called my contact who speaks on Channel 14. I said, "This is crazy." He's the head of the Mossad, and he said that 1% of the population is Muslim. Well, guess what? It's not 1%, it's 8% of the population, which is Muslim. And President Obama actually was telling the truth when he said in 2009 that America is no longer a Judeo-Christian country.
Right. Right.
America is a Christian Muslim country, and the Muslims are now very much in control of major aspects of the U.S. military. And so when you have nuclear submarines commanded by Muslims, this is a problem for Israel. There are many things that Netanyahu has to be very aware of because there are people in the American military who are Muslim, and they will push the nuclear button against Israel. So we are all very concerned here in Israel. By the way, another thing also, Venezuela today is owned by Iran. Venezuela today, the saying in America, if you can't beat them, join them.
Right.
Well, that's what Biden is doing. If you can't or you are not willing to beat Venezuela, join Venezuela. Buy oil from Venezuela. Buy oil from Iran. Do everything that they tell you to do because you really don't have the backbone to fight them. So this is one of the problems that we're all facing. America is gradually losing its backbone and is being taken over by Islamic and socialist causes. So that's what we have to watch.
Well, and of course, those who are betraying their country are very well paid, very carefully recruited. And, life goes on for those who are the working poor and those who vote for a living. They don't care. Just as long as they get the check, their loyalties will gravitate to whoever feeds them, just like pigs at a farm. We've got to rise above this voting with our genitals and our stomachs, with identity politics and a mass depopulation program labeled as LGBTQ, RSV7, whatever. It's nothing more than that. Has anybody addressed concerns with the World Economic Forum, a non-elected entity that apparently is, leading the way in this globalist agenda? Is anyone talking about Agenda 21 or Agenda 30 or Agenda 50, or is it really just a lost cause because the mainstream media is bought and paid for?
Well, all I can say is that Israel, on the one hand, has a majority population supporting Netanyahu, supporting the right wing, and the left wing minority, the generals. These are all bought and paid for by Qatar through the United States, and there is a game plan for a mutiny or overthrow of Netanyahu at any given moment. I've gotten into a lot of trouble for saying these things, but it's proven. And, even to this moment, we still don't know. Can we do the attack in Rafah, or do we have to surrender? And there will be a revolution from the right in Israel if Israel surrenders to the Americans and surrenders to the Iranians and surrenders to the Muslims.
That's obvious. And I believe there will be a revolution in America with another botched sabotage election, if that's going to happen. So these are the days we read about, folks. I hope you're ready. You know, doing this and this and this won't make it go away. You got to use the voice you have, and don't waste the space you live in. You know, your generation is counting on you. So your children and your grandchildren. You start with praying for the people of Israel, but you also need to vote. And if you don't vote, you know where that vote goes. You need to vote and leave the same media that has lied to you. Don't trust anything they have to say, especially when it comes to a candidate that has not sold out to our enemies. You know, but what can one do besides pray? Well, you watch and pray. You vote accordingly, and you use your voice. You know, if you look at the Jerusalem Post today, and you know they're talking about Robert De Niro of all people confronting pro-Palestinian protesters, telling them to go home, telling them this isn't a movie. If you're really, you got to go home. But I'm afraid everyone lives in a movie these days, that they have a problem differentiating the difference between a movie and reality. They have a wake-up call coming. You know, most people still don't know that Obama's Organized for Action is called by many the largest grassroots political organization in America. Who do you think staging these protests around the country, folks? You going to vote for him because he's black or white? Depends on what crowd he's in front of. I remember Obama talking about paying your fair share. They've got 8 mansions, don't they? How many mansions by the ocean do they have? You know, as they talk about global warming, which is laughed among the scientific community. It's a joke. But here we are. Here we are. Netanyahu. Where would Israel be had Netanyahu not stayed in leadership? Avi, what do you think?
Well, I think that Netanyahu is the man. I think that he is the best prime minister we ever had, and he has the strongest backbone to withstand whatever pressure comes at him or at the Israeli population. Again, the socialist generals who have been in power for 100 years, the socialist generals appoint other generals, rising officers, who are of the same ilk. By the way, you were talking about global warming. I have to tell you something. I mean, you can scream. It's so funny, but it's horrible. Yeah. Our General Khalifa was the one who completely dropped the ball and did not predict the attack on October the 7th. And there's a speech they put on TV where he was saying, before the attack, he was saying the most important thing for the Israeli military to watch is not Islamic terrorism, but global warming.
Yeah.
And so many people in Israel are saying, what? How can we have
Biden,
a crazy, stupid general who's following global warming? So that's typical of what we're seeing now. So the point is that the new generals have to be appointed by right-wing people, but then the Supreme Court comes into power, which is also totally socialist, and they block anything that Netanyahu recommends. So I don't know how long this can continue. I think at some stage there's going to have to be something happening, but it'll probably be after the war is concluded.
Well, here's the question today. Did he drop the ball? If he is a globalist shill, did he drop the ball? You know, some have said you just don't sneak up on Israel.
Well, the information that we have And I have to tell you something. My wife, Rachel, is also the source or one of the primary sources of my information gathering. And immediately when the attack happened on October 7th, Rachel was saying to me, something stinks here. Something is not right.
Right, right.
It cannot be that the Israeli military shut down all the vital departments of intelligence gathering in the months preceding the attack. The American government knew about the attack. The Egyptian government knew, and I believe the generals knew. And the reason they supported the attack was they wanted to make Netanyahu resign because of his failure not to see the attack coming. Now the point is that now on TV they ask people in the street, left-wing people, do you prefer an Israeli victory over Hamas, or do you prefer overthrowing Netanyahu? And say, oh, we prefer overthrowing Netanyahu.
Different brain chemistry.
Something is rotten in the state of Denmark, as Shakespeare once said.
Well, why is it that every person that drives with a mask on inside their car votes Democrat?
Yeah.
Liberalism is a sheep social disease, unless you're at the top being paid well. I mean, what happens when, the son of Hamas leader, and again, the Jerusalem Post is what I'm reading from. Only you can tell us how reliable that is, but he's saying Israel should invade Rafah, not give in to global pressure. And that's the son of Hamas leader. That's what he said to Mossab Hussein Youssef, said to Piers Morgan. What happens when a son of a Hamas leader is warning the world and advising Israel on what they should do and how they should avoid the globalist agenda, which, by the way, is no borders, no national identities, no private ownership of anything. You will own nothing and you will be happy, says Klaus Schwab, the ultimate Nazi with the World Economic Forum. And seems to be calling a whole lot of shots, but who's calling his shots? Who's leading him? Who do you think? I don't believe that Klaus is the top tier of the ladder here. Who do you think's really running the show? Is it the Prince of Darkness himself?
Well, I know the Soros is way up there on the list. I don't know the names of the people who go to Davos in Switzerland to plan out what's going to happen. But I have to tell you something. Am I allowed to preach a little bit?
You can say whatever you want to on our show.
Okay. We took Gaza in 1949 in our independence war. We took Gaza in 56 during the Sinai campaign. We took Gaza in the 67 war. So that's already 3 times. And finally, in 2006, Arik Sharon, our prime minister, said, the world will not allow us to eliminate all these tunnel diggers, the ones who are digging the tunnels. So just give them the keys, wish them well, let them, just as long as they don't shoot missiles at us. But what happened? The first thing that they did, they shot missiles at us. So, you know what? We did not want to take Gaza, but they forced us to. They lied to us for 16, 17 years, saying that they wanted, to have hotels and turn Gaza into a Riviera. It was all lies. What they wanted was to build the hotels, to lie to us, to pretend that they wanted peace when they really did not want peace. So we took Gaza a 4th time. I think this is the last time we're going to take it. In other words, we're going to take Gaza, we're going to hold it. There are many calls from the Israeli population to reestablish the settlements that Arik Sharon took down in Gaza. Now, the moment the fighting starts, if and when the fighting starts, I believe it will start, but the fighting starts in Gaza, Lebanon is going to attack. Lebanon, how many times have we conquered Lebanon? This first started in 1978 with the Litani campaign. Then 2000 and 1000 in 1982. It was the 4 years later. Okay, 1978 was the Litani campaign, where we went up to the Litani River just to say to the Lebanese, stop attacking our settlements. Then we went up in 1982 under Begin. Then we withdrew in the year 2000. Then we had another shot with them in 2005. That's 3 times. And each time we were forced to withdraw from Lebanon. Now Hezbollah has 150,000 rockets. In other words, they have 10 times more rockets than Gaza. They have 10 times more tunnels than Gaza. And they are forcing us to invade Lebanon again. And you want to know something? We're going to annex South Lebanon too. Isn't it enough that we had to take it 4 times? So what is God saying? Okay, this is the preaching part. God is saying that Gaza belongs to the land of Israel. It belongs to the Jewish people.
For a
God
very
is
long
saying,
time.
God is saying that the south of Lebanon belongs to Israel, belongs to the Jewish people. It says so in the Bible.
Right.
And so there is talk in Israel about annexing the south of Lebanon. In other words, if we go into battle in Rafah and Hezbollah opens up on us from the north, we will take the north. We will take all the way up to Beirut, as far as I'm concerned. We're talking about 100, 150,000 soldiers of Hezbollah, which will have to be defeated. You're an American. I'm an American originally. Didn't we grow up in school in America knowing about something called manifest destiny?
Yep, we sure did.
So America is a country of manifest destiny. I have news. Israel also is a country of manifest destiny.
I would say Israel has a greater claim than America. Our archaeology and artifacts alone speak of the validity of Israel more, I think, than any nation. Personally,
See, my worst enemy, our worst enemy, is the Jewish mother. The Jewish mother wants her children home for the Sabbath meal. As they say in Florida, in the retirement homes, a golf cart's drive away. But God does not ask the Jewish mother what she wants. God says that the borders will go from Gaza all the way to Jordan, and from Lebanon all the way to Saudi Arabia. And God really doesn't give a hoot about what the Jewish mother wants. And our soldiers and our officers, men and women, are going to be scattered all over the Middle East as we take over country by country. Because if ISIS takes over Saudi Arabia and Jordan, we have to go into Saudi Arabia and Jordan. So this is I call it the homeland of Messiah. Now, Jews and Christians differ as to who the Messiah is, but we all know Messiah is a Jew from Israel who speaks Hebrew. So for the Christians, it's Jesus Christ. But you know what? Jesus Christ is not a Palestinian terrorist. He is a Jew from Israel who speaks Hebrew. So I'm just saying we are living on the cusp of perhaps the most momentous time in the history of the human race. And of course, Judaism is a very small religion. I have the audacity, the nerve, the chutzpah to say that I consider Christianity part of Judaism. And, Jews don't like that I say that, and Christians don't like that I say that. But then the population of the Christians is 2 billion, which is 1/3 of the human race. And I'm telling you, Arabic will not be spoken from the Nile River to the Euphrates River. This is what's going to happen. The borders are going to grow, not because we want the borders to grow. The borders are going to grow because God wants this homeland of the Messiah. And I think this is in preparation for the coming or the return of the Messiah. And that's what I share in every church that I go.
Well, I tell you what, I'm happy to hear you say that. Of course, I'm not your average Christian either. I don't even call myself a Christian. I call myself a follower of the Messiah. I believe those who claim to follow our Messiah do not lie or gossip or slander or extort the poor or kill our children. But a lot of Christians do. And I want to be known as someone who our believed Messiah said, "You'll know by our love for one another." Well, you and I are an anomaly, my friend. People look at us in amazement. This wonderful Jew scholar from Israel and this media American believer in Jesus of German descent. They don't know what to do with us. But I can tell you one thing: God is love, and anyone who knows us knows that we love each other. And I
Amen.
I love Israel. I always have since I was a little boy, and I always will. I always will. All that to say, and you're the face of Israel to me, Avi. So I love you too.
Love you
You
too.
know, I was driving a Jewish scholar, and he was a Jew. Dear brother, he died from cancer, and he says, you tell me Jesus loves me, but do you love me? And I said, yes, Yuri, I do love you. And Avi, we love you. And thank you for giving us an update from
Amen.
live from Israel. And folks, get behind Avi, biblicalalliance.com, biblicalalliance.com. And we love you. God bless you. We'll see you next time. And as Avi always likes to say with shalom.
Amen. Shalom, y'all.